Hi, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm talking to the kitty from Mass Singer. Hey, kitty
Yeah.
girl. The fact that you walked into RuPaul music just made me root for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was so fun. It was like great to kind of act like an 18-year-old at the time or 19-year-old, you know?
Very cool. So obviously you had quite a wide-ranging career because you were just on the Mass Singer, but now you're putting out Carousel Time, which is the whole other end of what you can do, which is Joni Mitchell covers. You can do it all. So I'm going to start with the very, very obvious question, Jackie, which is, so you have this album, Carousel Time, it's Joni Mitchell covers. Why this project? Why Joni Mitchell as opposed to maybe looking at the catalog of a different artist? Like what inspired this?
Well, I was raised on a lot of different music, from like Joni Mitchell all the way to Marilyn Manson, and in between we got, Beethoven and the Killers. Like I've been raised on all sorts of stuff, and I was really, really into 70s music at the time. Joni Mitchell popped out to me because her lyrics are very poetic, authentic. Everything about her music was really pretty to me, and I loved that they tell stories. And I really wanted to, try my hand at that and see what Joni Mitchell sounds like through Jackie Evancho's eyes.
Absolutely. So it's interesting timing because I'm not sure exactly when you started recording this record, but there's no way you could have known that it would be timed to her making this big comeback at the Newport Folk Festival a few weeks ago. And, it almost feels fateful that that is taking place at the same time.
Right. I mean, that happiest coincidence ever.
So, what is it about Joni's lyrics in particular that resonate with you, resonate with what you've gone through as a young woman?
I think what I like most about them is the pictures that they sort of paint in your mind. When I listen to Joni Mitchell, I kind of like to describe her music as story songs rather than showcase songs. And what's beautiful about them is when you listen, you can see it almost like when you're reading a book and you can see what's happening in the book. That's what it's like for me to listen to her music. And that's really what I fell in love with most. And I think that a lot of her songs just touch on things like, waiting for a guy to meet you in your car on a hillside. And, you know, for me, For Free was a really fun song to sing because, it's about seeing all these musicians who are incredibly talented doing it for free on the side of the street while I'm getting paid to do it. Just stuff like that that I really, really loved hearing in her music.
So obviously you've been, open recently about, I'm going to talk about this with you gently, respectfully, but your eating disorder, of course, and, the accident you had. And we can talk a little bit more about that if you like. But I'm wondering if there are certain songs in Joni's catalog with that resonate with you the most when you've been going through your darkest periods of your life that have given you comfort, and if that played into the choices you made with the covers you did.
Um, Honestly, at the time that I had decided to do the album and pick the songs, my frame of mind towards the things that I'm, I guess, diagnosed with and the trauma stuff, I repressed that a lot.
Hmm.
And it wasn't even at the front of my head. To be honest, that stuff only comes out when I'm songwriting.
Hmm.
Um, and for me, when I listen to music and it makes my chest ache and it makes me have chills, that's why I pick the songs that I pick. And that's what kind of led me to pick these songs. More that than relating through trauma.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, it's interesting for me to hear because you have been so open lately about how you repressed that before. What was the kind of dam breaker or whatever that made it that released that repression?
I think the thing that really broke it for me was in 2020. I kind of had a break, like a snap in a way. And I was a nervous wreck. I was shaking all the time, couldn't keep anything in my stomach just from sheer nausea and panic. And that started a whole journey of going to outpatient or inpatient and, you know, being treated for all these things that were building up that I was ignoring. And after I got out, I was like, look, I can't keep living like this. I'm not the same person I was when I was 10, and I can't keep pretending because it's making me sick. So I kind of said, for lack of better wording, screw it. I'm going to be myself. I'm going to go out there. And if people don't like me, they don't like me. I can't please everybody, but I can be myself because there's no way I can feel ashamed at the end of the day if I can say to myself, well, at least you were honest, you know?
When you say I can't be that way, the way I was when I was 10 or whatever, I mean, obviously a lot of child stars growing up in the public eye struggle with things, men and women. What did you feel pressure to still be like this cute little thing or to still do only opera? Like what was this kind of pressure you were sensing?
For me, the pressure was to be that cute little blonde girl who sang opera and the big voice and the little body and uh I don't know, to be everybody's granddaughter in a way, you know? And that's not to say that I don't love them or that, because that's always going to be a part of me. But through the years, I've changed a lot. I've learned lessons. I've encountered things that changed the direction of my personality and all sorts of stuff. And it's just inevitable that people are not going to be who they were when they were 10. And I was tired. Yeah, I was tired of not showing that.
So do you ever regret that you started as early as you did in the business?
Not at all. I am incredibly grateful for when I started and how I started, because music is in my blood. I would say not in like a genetic pass down way, but in a, this is like what I'm meant to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying to somebody else, music is like the fiber of my being in a way. It literally will make me, when I'm physically feeling not well, it will make that pain go away. Music is what I'm meant to do. I know that. That's like the only thing I'm certain about in my whole life.
How have you used music? I mean, obviously we're talking about the Joni album, which is originals, but you said you really use songwriting to get that out. How have you used it during the struggles you've had over the years, including the more recent ones, to to process things and self-care?
Um, I basically just sit and write songs as much as possible. I do a lot of journaling. That's more of the processing for me. When I songwrite, I like to say that it's almost like reopening a wound, but instead of healing it, I'm painting with the blood.
That's interesting. How's doing this project of Joni covers, because she's such a great lyricist, and interpreting the lyrics through your own voice, has that inspired or changed any of the writing you've done lately for yourself?
I think so. A lot of the times I would sit with the songs I'm trying to write and I would pressure myself to make it like some 3-minute genius. You know what I mean? But listening to Joni Mitchell stuff and the way that she has this genius with such simplicity sometimes, it really kind of unlocked a type of writer's block that I had. And it helped show me that I can be what I want to be within my music without having to sit there and overthink, over concentrate. You know, you can put things simply and they end up being that intricate thought you were trying to convey.
Interesting. I was thinking back to what you're saying about how we're trying to tell people like, look, I'm not going to be that 10-year-old forever. A lot of young girls, when they come up in the public eye in pop and they started very young, they feel some pressure. It could be their own internalized pressure. It could be pressure from the industry to like have their like I'm sexy now phase, like like Christina Aguilera in Dirty, which by the way is a bop, not dissing Christine at all, but this sort of like, or Janet Jackson with Control, this sort of, or Nasty, like this sort of coming out like, here's my sexy adult record. Did Did you go through that phase, or did you feel pressured to go through such a phase?
I did not. There was a point in time where kind of like the team that I was working with was kind of saying, well, you're a woman now, so we can introduce sexy to you. But me personally, I find a lot of sexy in, I guess, not how much skin you show or whatever. And that's up to you, whatever you want to do. But for me, the way that I feel confident and sexy is looking kind of like a boss, pretty much, you know?
Mm-hmm. How have you been able to tap into or develop that inner confidence, given the fact that you have had these struggles with body image and just growing up in the public eye and people sort of judging you for more than half your life at this point?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't even know. It's just the stuff that I'm more prone to gravitating towards as I get older. But I'm still very much going through the same exact things that I was back in 2020. It's just that I've gotten more used to how those things feel. You know, the type of nerve or panic. I know how to handle these things now. But I'm still very much in the process of healing all these things. I have to learn how to access what I've repressed. I have to learn how to process that in a healthy way because I mean, that's how the eating disorders develop and all those unhealthy coping skills. I have to retrain myself how to function in a healthy way.
So 2020, you say, did things kind of come to a head? A lot of people had, no matter what was going on in their life, obviously things came to a head for a lot of people mentally in 2020 for the very obvious reasons. Was that like a make or break year for you in regarding to what you've been going through?
I think so, yeah. It's kind of been slowly bubbling since I was 15. And every year it's worse and worse and worse. And then it took that snap for people to truly see just how severe it really was. Because even with the weight loss, you can hide that stuff, you can avoid it. There are all sorts of things that you can do to trick people into thinking you're okay if you don't want them to know you're hurting. And I was always doing that because I don't like when people worry about me. I want them to be happy, you know? I'm a people pleaser. And 2020 was definitely the point where I was like, I literally cannot function. I'm dizzy when I stand for no reason. And I feel sick. I have to put myself first now, you know?
Is that when the car accident you had happened, or was it yeah, it was a car accident, right? Where you found out that you had some long-term repercussions.
Right. Yeah, that actually happened in 2021 in January. The snap for me kind of happened in November of 2020 and then the accident in 2021. And that was wild. I'm still terrified to drive when the weather is slightly bad. I'm still in pain because my back doesn't bend like it used to. But the only pro that I got from that is now I know what I'm dealing with. And I know that I have to be more cautious. I have to take vitamin supplements and fight even harder to beat the eating disorders that are causing it.
How's your recovery with the not just the eating disorder, but also the osteoporosis that the car accident, uncovered or whatever? Like, how have has things been going, and how have things been going in the last year and a half or so?
Mm-hmm. In terms of the osteoporosis, I actually don't know. I haven't had a checkup yet, which I know I need to. I've been told I need to, but I don't know. I've always had an aversion to doctors. But with the eating disorder treatments and stuff, I'm still fighting and I'm stuck in a spot where the real change has to happen. So I'm still very much in the throes of it, but little by little, each therapy session and talk through, I'm waking up a bit more.
Well, I appreciate your honesty because I think a lot of people, especially if they like see an episode of like 90210 or something, where it's like one episode. People think that things can be solved quickly, or that once you've recovered, you're an ex, you former or whatever. But, I think your honesty of showing it's like an ongoing process is important. Have you gotten a lot of, what kind of feedback have you gotten from fans, especially other young women, now that you are talking about this?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of support. And it's refreshing from the comments that I was getting before that were, you're dying right before our eyes. What's with young people not eating? Have you ever heard of Karen Carpenter? And it's just like, I know what I'm dealing with. And I can't see myself the way everybody else could see themselves or the way that they see me. And for them to be harsh with it was hard for me to read. It made me panic. It made me feel bad about myself. So seeing people kind of respond in a positive way to me finally being honest was so refreshing. And it just reinforced my belief that if we're honest with ourselves and we present in an honest way, even if it's just how you feel that day, there's no guilt, there's no shame in that because you were honest. That's my policy.
Do you mind me asking, because you said this sort of all started around 15, which is, an age, even if you're just a normal 15-year-old, not a famous one, it's a fraught time, puberty and all that stuff. And I guess social media, this would have been 7 years for you ago or so. I guess social media was definitely happening. It's not the way it is now, but it was definitely a thing. And you were obviously I assume on social media. Like what started it, basically, if you don't mind me asking?
I honestly don't know. I know that I was at a point where I was becoming a woman and I wanted to be this specific version of myself. And I would say that a lot of my eating problems come from pressure I put on myself, not society's pressures, not anybody else's putting it on me. It came from myself because I'm a perfectionist and I hold myself to an impossible standard. And so I kind of one day looked in the mirror and I said, that's not what I want to look like. And I started off by eating healthier and working out in a healthy way. But then I wasn't seeing any results. And so that kind of spiraled and snowballed into where I'm at now. It got worse and worse and worse every year. Because at that point, I wasn't able to see myself. I couldn't see the true reflection or what I actually looked like. So it was kind of like shot myself in the foot, I guess.
It's too bad. I mean, it's not 7 years. A lot can happen in 7 years. How do you feel about, I feel like in those years, like the body positivity movement has really exploded on social media, where like, it seems now after many years of people trying to look absolutely perfect on Instagram or whatever. And of course, there are still people doing that, but there are a lot more people who are like, here's my stretch marks, or like, here's my cellulite or whatever, or, just feeling a little bit more realistic about presenting their body. How do you feel, like, does that resonate with you, that movement at all?
Oh, of course. I fully support people being proud of the real parts of them because it definitely helps decrease that toxic standard we hold ourselves to. And I don't know why I don't hold myself to that. I'm always harder on myself. It's like, that's great. I hope everybody on earth follows that positivity about their bodies, but you're not allowed to. You know what I mean? That's what I would say to myself. I don't know why I do that.
Yeah, well, I think because you're human. I mean, and
Right.
especially because I'm sure you get scrutinized more than the average woman your age. But I'm actually wondering, I'm a little like, did this ever affect your vocals? Because obviously it's in your blood. You were gifted with these beautiful vocals. And, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical expert. I'm wondering if any of the stuff you were doing, not treating your body well, affected your voice at any time, or was that ever a risk of happening? Because obviously that would have been tragic.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's not affected it yet, but it is still very much a risk. And it's an ongoing worry. Um, And it's very hard to battle myself in my head when you have these disorder thoughts fighting with, you know, my passion for life. And that's the thing that sucks about this eating disorder. It totally makes you fight yourself. You end up exhausted constantly, fed up. You feel left out because of your own choices, you know? You can't sit and enjoy the birthday cake with the family. You can't go out to this event because you're so exhausted from what you put yourself through that day. And it takes away so much of your life.
Are you gonna tour or perform for this record Carousel of Time? You know, are you feeling up for that physically and mentally?
Yes, I am. And I'm definitely feeling up for it. And I think it's good for me because even though I'm not healthy, I'm not 100% healthy yet, it puts me in a position where I have no choice because the voice that is pro me and not trying to beat me down is like fighting back a lot harder.
It's great. In your writing your own material, which I assume your next project after Carousel Time, maybe you'll flip back to that. Are you writing about any of this stuff? Or are you, writing more vulnerable autobiographical songs that are about this sort of stuff you're going through?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The stuff that I'm writing is it's like all of the things that are dark and deep in me that I've never spoken about put in music.
When will we hear the original material? Not that, obviously I'm excited about Carousel of Time, but I feel like it almost could be the next album will almost be a companion piece to this record.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't know. I'm kind of focused mainly on the Joni Mitchell album right now because it's coming out real soon. Uh, but it's definitely great to get ahead of the game and see the next plan. And that's kind of what I've been doing when I'm writing these songs. But in terms of when it'll be out, when we'll see any of it, I don't know.
How do you feel critics will receive Carousel of Time? Because, obviously you had success from a very, very young age, but it's kind of, it's kind of a curse of people who start young. It's also a curse of people who start off or spring into the public consciousness through a reality show. There are always music critics and music snobs who are going to be skeptical of that. And I imagine you've had to work really hard to overcome any people thinking you're some kind of like puppet or Simon Cowell creation or whatever. Like, how do you feel this record could maybe turn some critical tides for you and start a new chapter that way?
I haven't even thought of that actually. You know, my concern when I make music is always with my fans and myself. If I'm proud of the project and if my fans enjoy it, I mean, that's the best I could hope for, you know? I'm not going to please everybody. So maybe there will be people putting out their opinion on the album that's negative, but that's okay because it helps me to learn too. There's constructive criticism within some criticism. You have to be very careful. It's a hard thing to balance, I guess.
So you've never gone into anything with sort of feeling like you had something to prove or something to prove to the haters or the doubters or anything of that nature.
Yeah, I have with Awakening. That was an album that I did, I think a few albums ago. I felt at that point in my life that I had to prove something, but that quickly faded. And now it's just doing what I love and what the fans hopefully will love too.
What do you think Joni Mitchell would think if I don't know if you've reached out to her camp or tried to get the record into her hands, if she's heard it, or what you think she would say if she were to hear it?
I am really praying that she likes it. I really am because that's something I have thought about. I don't want to offend her at all with anything that I've done with the songs, but I did put a lot of love and respect for her into them. So hopefully she hears that when she listens, if she listens.
When you say you didn't want to offend or you wanted to have respect, obviously is, when you're covering someone's work, you want to, as they say on reality shows, make it your own.
Yeah.
You don't want to just do a straight ahead cover like karaoke. You want to put it through your own perspective, but you want to keep the, you want to keep the original song intact. So what was your approach to doing that?
I really kind of sat with the songs and I played them over and over again, one at a time, and really thought about ways that I could alter their appearance a bit. So, kind of like changing a melody piece here or bringing up a key here, little subtle things like that that would take a song and kind of adjust it a little without changing it completely. Kind of like with Catherine McPhee doing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You know, that song was sung the same for years and years. And then she showed us her version. And now that's the version we all hear, you know? So I was hoping for that effect.
What if your fans, obviously there's some songs that are out there already. What's been the reaction so far?
So far, there's been a lot of love. There's been a lot of support. There's been newer people coming in and saying, I love your stuff and this Joni Mitchell stuff's great. Um, yeah, it's been very good so far. I'm excited.
As well, you should be. Are there any other artists, perhaps from the same era, or you say you grew up with so many different kinds of music? Are there any other artists that you would maybe do this again, like maybe make it a series, like Jackie Evancho sings the songs of ...
I would love to do Jim Croce's music
Mm.
or his music so much. And that was an idea that I'd actually flirted with a little bit before I chose Joni. So maybe in the future, but yeah, I'd love to do some of his stuff.
Awesome. Before I let you go, I'm curious, how is your sister Juliet doing these days?
She's doing amazing. She's living in a different state now, off on her own, you know, battling the world, but crushing it. And we still stay in contact, but last time I saw her was July. I know for a fact, though, that she's doing good, fighting hard to stand up for everybody's rights. And I couldn't be more proud of her. I've always been proud of her.
Are you involved in that in any way? Like just in terms of advocacy? I don't know if you like play benefit concerts or anything like that, because I know you guys are very close.
Oh, for sure. Um, I haven't had any benefit concerts or anything like that recently, but if ever asked, I am 100% supported or supporter of all of that. And my belief is that people should be who they want to be, love who they want to love, and what's it to anybody else? If they're happy, why does that hurt you? If it's not causing you harm, leave it alone, you know? Let people be them. Um, but that's actually a good idea. Maybe I should throw my own benefit concert.
I would absolutely be into that. Yeah, singing the songs of Joni Mitchell. Then Joni Mitchell comes out as a surprise.
That'd be so cool.
Do you mind me asking? I don't judge you at all for it, but I believe you've gone on record as saying you do kind of regret singing at Trump's inauguration. It was 5 years ago. You were younger. Obviously, I'm asking this in the context of Julia and stuff. I feel you said something like, because I want to make this a broader discussion, that maybe you felt you learned to be more of an advocate for what to learn to say no to things or whatever. Can you tell me, this seems to be part of that mindset seems to be part of your journey in general?
Yes. Yeah. From the beginning of my career to now, it's been a journey of learning how to say no. I still suck at it, I swear.
Well, when you start so young, you're so used to people handling things for you.
Yes, exactly. And when all of the inauguration stuff came to be, it was a full-on discussion. And all I was hearing was, I get to sing the national anthem for a president, and for my country. And this is going to be something I've had on my bucket list that I can finally cross off. And no one truly knew what kind of president Trump would become, what he would truly follow through with. Uh, but I even made sure that my sister was okay with it too, because I didn't ever want her to feel that I don't support her, or if I'm doing something that'll put her in an uncomfortable position. She was fully supportive of me as much as I would be of her for anything. And that's kind of why I proceeded, you know? And it sucks that afterwards, seeing the result of it and, you know, what people were saying, what they thought of me as a result of somebody else's actions, uh, I think they're separate things. And me singing for my country should have no reflection on my support of the LGBTQ community or my family, you know?
Well, on a lighter note, you said that singing for any president at the White House was a bucket list thing. So, what else is on your bucket list that you'd like to do in your career?
I would love to release an album of all of my original material and like compose it, produce it all by myself, which I have to do a lot of classes to do that, but I'm on my way. I would also love to sing with Lady Gaga.
Ooh.
I would love that. It's been a dream of mine since I could remember. Possibly play Christine on Broadway in the Phantom of the Opera. Movies, I'd love to do movies, acting. There's so much stuff I want to do. I want to like sell my paintings, my artwork.
Oh, I didn't know you painted.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I do a lot of it actually. um, yeah, there's a million things on that bucket list.
Well, I mean, you're a veteran in the business, but you're still only 22. So, the world is yours. I'm so happy for you that you're doing well and doing what you want to do. So I really wish you all the best. Congratulations on Carousel of Time, and I look forward to the original music that you're going to put out in the future as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Well, you have a wonderful day. It was really lovely speaking with you.
Likewise, and thank you for being so, I don't know what the word would be, but you helped me to feel very comfortable with talking about things that aren't easy to talk about.
Oh, well, I feel good about that. I'm glad you felt comfortable. So you have yeah, just keep doing you. I'm a fan.
Thank you. And you too.